My name's Keith Atwood, and amongst many other things, I'm a Deputy Lieutenant for the County of Essex. And I have specific responsibilities for supporting this award scheme across the Essex County. Before we get started, there are a couple of housekeeping matters to attend to, and I'd like to ask my colleague Robbie Bryson from Essex County Council to cover this. Robbie.
Thanks, Keith. Yeah, so very quickly, everyone, just a few bits of housekeeping. So if you could please keep your microphone muted and your camera off unless you're speaking. As I mentioned, we'll obviously be recording today's session, so that will be available afterwards for anyone who couldn't make it today. And there will be plenty of opportunity to ask questions to the speakers today, but that'll be towards the end of the session. So if you could hold your questions for then. So once we get to the question and answer section in the agenda, you can either raise your hand or feel free to put your question in the chat if you'd prefer. So here's the agenda for today's session. So I won't run through this in detail, we'll get straight into things. But yeah, you can see there we've got someone from the King's Awards to speak today, as well as previous winners from all of the categories based in Essex. So I'll hand back over to Keith to get started.
Thanks, Robbie. I should also add that Robbie has taken the lead in organising today's session, so it's much appreciated. Thank you very much, Robbie. The primary purpose of today's event is to provide support to potential applicants for the 2026 round of the King's Awards, which will open on the 6th of May this year. We'll hear an overview of the award scheme, focusing on the process and what the assessors and judges are looking for. And then we'll hear from past winners of the award across all 4 categories who will share their experiences with you. So if everybody's happy, we'll get started. And I'd like to introduce firstly Chloe Palser, who joins us from the King's Awards office within the Department of Business and Trade. Chloe, over to you.
Thank you, Keith. Thanks very much for hosting today, and thanks very much to Robbie for all of the organisation that's gone into making today possible. I'm always very pleased to join the Essex presentation, being from Essex myself, even though we're a small team based in London. So hello to all of you on the call. Just to give you a very quick overview of the awards, King's Awards for Enterprise are the most prestigious awards for UK businesses, and they are a globally recognised royal seal of approval. The late Duke of Edinburgh first created the awards in 1965, and since then over 8,000 companies have achieved this award. The name of the award now continues in His Majesty King Charles's name, and that can be seen in the reflection of the new emblem that you can see here and the new colour scheme that we have for the King's Awards. The winners that will be announced on the 6th of May will be the 3rd round of King's Awards winners. Thanks, Robbie. So just to give you a little bit of a background, just on the next slide there. So there are 4 categories that businesses can apply for. I'll talk in more detail about those in a moment, but just as an overview, they are innovation, international trade, sustainable development, and promoting opportunity through social mobility. Moving on to the next slide, please. So the overall eligibility criteria is listed on screen here. Now this applies for all 4 categories, and then each of the categories also have their own criteria. The main things to point out is that the company must be based in the UK or must have an entity that's based in the UK. It must also have at least 2 employees to enter. So that is the main thing. Please don't be put off if you think this is for huge businesses. You only need 2 employees as a minimum to apply for this award. It's open to sizes of all sizes and in every sector, and it's free to enter as well. You must also be paying your taxes to HMRC and have a good compliance record. So paying your taxes on time, making sure you have no ongoing issues that could be detrimental to your award. We also are open to applicants who are either business or non-profit as well. Just on to the next slide, please. So the first category, innovation. In this category, we want to hear about why your innovation is unique and how it has benefited your business, customers, and others. The innovation could either be a product or a service that's been on the market for at least 2 years. So we need to see the commercial success of this product or service for a 2-year period or more. Some of the key things for this application is we want to hear what the innovation is, how it was developed, what challenges you faced when creating this innovation, and why are things better because of it. Our assessors are all highly qualified and experienced in many sectors. However, you should avoid technical jargon and acronyms when submitting this application. They also really want to know what inspired you to create this innovation, what is the story behind the innovation, and what makes it a success. It could be in one of the 4 categories, as I mentioned: an invention, a design, a production of goods, a performance or service. That's really important. Quite often people think it's just for a product innovation, but it's not. It's for services as well, marketing, distribution, a goods or support service as well. It's also we'll also consider the non-commercial benefits to the innovation. So although we ask for financials to back up why the innovation has been a success, we also want to know about those non-commercial benefits as well. So how has it benefited people within your organisation? Do you have any testimonials that you can share with us to show that it really has been impactful? The biggest reason that applicants fail to be recommended in this category is that they don't show commercial success. We need to see that the innovation has either already had a return on investment, or that it is predicted to have a return on investment in the coming years. That's a really important fact. You could have an amazing innovation, but if it's not having a good impact on your financials as a business, and if it's not selling, then unfortunately you won't be successful in this application. Just moving on to international trade. So for this category, we're looking at your overseas sales and growth over either a 3-year period or a 6-year period. For the first year of your application form, you need to have at least £100,000 in overseas sales, and then show an increase year on year for either 3 years at a steep increase or 6 years at a substantial but slightly lower increase. And whether it's 3 years or 6 years, that's entirely up to you. It depending on how best it would suit and how best it would tell the story of your company. This award really is the premier one in terms of international trade, because it really does matter to overseas markets. It's not just proof of the product, but it's proof that it's successful internationally. Our assessors want you to tell the story behind the company. Again, the story, as you'll see throughout all of the categories, is very important, but the assessors are really keen to know what challenges, again, you've overcome, explain in really simple terms what your marketing strategy is, what you did to overcome it, why penetration of a particular market is really important as well. Read through the application form, as it is set out in a way to ask you questions, to prompt you to give us all of these pieces of information. It's quite easy to treat it as an exam, so if you go through the questions one by one, you can leave the form as well and return to it, but avoid repetition, making sure that everything is within the form as best you can. The main thing that assessors look for, as I said, is to have that steep increase. Unfortunately, if you have a drop in your overseas sales in this category, you will be disqualified. So it does need to show a year-on-year increase. That does look at all markets of overseas sales. So you might have very good success in Europe, but you've perhaps had a drop in America. Overall, that increase must be year-on-year. So you might, even if you do have a drop in one particular region or one particular country, we would look at the growth throughout the whole of your exports. There isn't a pass mark for the percentage growth, but we do have lots of examples of current winners that I would encourage you to look at. And also it is relative to your size of your company and your sector as well, which is the reason why we don't put a percentage to it, because one sector's exports may be very different to another's. Just moving on to the next category. So promoting opportunity is our newest category, and that focuses on social mobility. So you must be an enterprise business that has a social mobility program in place in addition to that. So what we're looking for is an initiative or program that really helps people from disadvantaged backgrounds succeed, get into the workplace, and become much more have much more better work opportunities for them. So we really want you to focus on why you decided to help these individuals. Any KPIs that you have are really important to show how you've benefited individuals, how their circumstances have changed since before entering the program to after the program. So the impact is really important. The types of interventions that you could be telling us about include recruitment processes, work experience or careers advice, mentoring, coaching, and interview or job related training as well. As I said, for this category, KPIs are really important so that we can monitor the success, and an explanation of the program's development, context, rationale, why it's targeted specific groups is really important. For this category, it was changed a couple of years ago of who can apply. So as long as you have an enterprise focus, you can apply for this category. The easiest way of thinking of it is if your company has been set up purely to deliver social mobility, then unfortunately this this award isn't the right thing for you. If you are a business that has an enterprise aim, your core purpose is to deliver a business, you have commercial success, and then on top of that you have a social mobility program to help others in your community, to help your staff, then you can apply. The exception to that rule is if you are perhaps a training provider, an apprenticeship provider, and your core purpose is promoting opportunity, you can apply as a joint application. So you would need the business who is sort of employing those apprentices to apply as a joint application with the apprenticeship provider. I hope that makes sense. I know that is quite a bit of a grey area and a bit confusing, so I'm very happy to answer any questions at the end on that one as well. But just moving on to the next category. So our last one is sustainable development. We've spent a lot of time refocusing the category this year to hopefully make it easier for people to apply, which includes reducing the word count on the application form, simplifying some of the questions, removing any repetition to the questions as well. What we're looking for the sustainable development category is for your company as a whole to really embody sustainability. So we're not just looking at a sustainable product or a sustainable intervention that you have. We want the sustainability to be embedded within your business, for your senior leaders to be really leading the way in sustainability. You're really leading the way in your sector. You're that gold standard for sustainability. The reason for this is that sustainability has come along so far in the last few years. We're at a very different place now to where we were 5 years ago. So now we are really looking for those that are really leading the way and setting an example of what a sustainable business should look like. In terms of criteria, again, it must be for at least a 2-year period or more for that. And as I said, we now have 5 key themes which are on screen there that we would look at through the application. So it's not just about that environmental sustainability anymore, but also looking for economic sustainability, social governance, the whole organisation's vision. Applicants should also be considering how they use their carbon sensibly. So all companies should be considering their scope 1 and scope 2 emissions, and larger companies should also be considering their scope 3 emissions. Circular economy, benchmarking, B Corp, all of these things, hopefully if you are a sustainable business, you should know what they are, and you will be asked on those throughout the application form. What we would also advise is having a look at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Now these, we wouldn't expect you to meet all of those, I believe there are 12, but we would really encourage you to have a look at them as a framework and pick out a few that your company is striving towards to help meet these Sustainable Development Goals. And you can use those to help tell the story through your application form. Just moving on to the next slide. So in terms of the benefits, just quickly, why you should apply for a King's Award. As I said, it is a royal emblem that is recognised globally. Many recipients tell us that it's helped them break into new markets in America, in Africa. They're so excited to hear about the King's Award and why you have received the King's Award. And the emblem, I think, is even more recognised overseas than it is in the UK. So the emblem that you can see on the bottom of the screen there can be used on all of your products, services, marketing material, website, emails for a 5-year period. It's also an amazing boost to staff morale. We always say that this award is an award for the whole business. Yes, we are celebrating the work that you've done, the work of perhaps the CEO, but it's also a chance to recognise and celebrate the work of your staff as well. It's a brilliant media opportunity. As you'll see on next Tuesday when we announce, there'll be lots of media coverage across the UK, lots of excitement on social media. It's a really fantastic marketing opportunity. One member of staff from your company is also invited to a royal reception hosted by His Majesty the King at Windsor Castle, and there'll be a separate celebratory event as well at your place of business where the King's local representative, the Lord Lieutenant, will attend and present your trophy to you, your certificate, which is signed by the Prime Minister and His Majesty the King. I should just say on that, actually, what makes these awards so special is that they are personally approved by His Majesty. So we have a series of judging panels that make a recommendation to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister will then personally submit that list to the King, who will sign off on each of those awards. So that's a really special thing to be able to say that you have been personally approved by His Majesty. And again, that is something that globally is just amazing, and it's a real mark of trust. I think I have one more slide left. So just how you should apply, quite an important one. So we will announce this year's recipients on the 6th of May, on Tuesday. We will also open for our next round on the 6th of May as well. So we'll be open all the way from the 6th of May to the 9th of September. I know that seems like quite a big amount of time. I would really strongly advise you starting the application form as soon as you can, even if it's just logging onto the system, downloading the form, having a look through it with a few of your colleagues to work out what information you're going to need, because it is quite a lengthy application form. I'm sure the winners that we have on the call with us today will tell you the same thing. Start as soon as you can. It's a free application process. All of the applications must be made online. But as I said, it doesn't have to be done in one go. You can revisit the form as many times as you wish. You can apply for more than one category if you wish to do so. We actually have 2 double award winners this year, which is very exciting. And there's just a link to our website there as well, which has the full eligibility criteria, anything else that you need to know, and our email address and telephone number if you want to give us a call to chat through anything. But thank you very much. There are all of our links there as well, so you can make sure to circulate that with you. But thanks very much.
Great. Thanks very much, Claire. Appreciated. Next, we're moving into the section of today's event, which gives the opportunity for you to hear from past winners across all of the 4 categories. We're going to start with Alex Holliman from Climbing Trees, and they won an award in 2024 for sustainable development. Alex, over to you.
Thanks, Keith, and thanks for inviting me along today. Hi, everyone. If we move to the next slide, I think I just wanted to spend some time just introducing who we are as a business. So Climbing Trees, we're a performance ads and SEO agency. We help people like Olympus cameras, Seiko watches, Greenpeace get found on websites like Google, Facebook and LinkedIn. I think the thing for us is we're used to winning awards for the work for our clients. And the King's Award was the first award that we've received on the business based on who we are and how we operate as a business. So it was a very big thing for us when we got to it. On the next slide, I think our values are the things that shape us as a business. And our values aren't just something where we've got a dusty poster in the boardroom with a really motivational picture and an inspirational quote. They're things that they're sort of our North Star, our compass, the things that we try and live by. And so as a values-led team, we have, over the last sort of 5 years, certified as a B Corp. We've just recertified and improved our score from 87 points to 111 points. And so very much we believe as a team that business can be a force for good, that business can lean into some of the problems there are in the world. And so as a values-led business, on the next slide, it felt like a very natural step to apply for a King's Award for Sustainable Development. I think in the UK, we've got people like Attenborough, who have been speaking about the environment and sustainable issues for a very, very long time. But His Majesty the King has been one of those voices. And so for us, it was that relevancy from that side of things, but then actually the depth that the award went into. I can't remember what it is from memory, but I believe that the award passes through something like 40 government departments. It goes through number 10, and as has been said, it then passes the King's desk. And so the level of interrogation each application goes through, I think for me, attests to the value of the award. I think for us, it gave us the opportunity to try and almost redouble down on the demonstration of our leadership in terms of and our commitment to sustainability. So it's not a passing fad. It's not just about getting a logo to put on the website. This is very much part of who we are as a business. And in the sustainable development category, I think I'm right in saying that there were in 2023 nationally 6 award winners. Last year that grew to 30. So it shows a tremendous amount of opportunity and sort of growing momentum there. And so I think we were the only company in Essex to win this award. And I think for us, we're very proud to be at the forefront of this shift of trying to actually use business as a force for good, and sort of try and drive some tangible action. So I think what we've got a series of sort of tips that we tried to follow when we were following the sort of application process. And it was like a really complex A-level form that you had to sort of fill in, and we passed through it a number of times. So we maybe had 6 or 7 sweeps of it. I led on the process with one other colleague, and a lot of it was then what we're going to write, going away, getting it written, maybe doing some research and some data in the business. And I think the prevailing narrative that we tried to use within our application was a story where, and I'd suggest that you do this, where you talk through your past, what you've been doing in the past, how you've changed, what you're doing at the moment, and then what your aspirations are in the future. And using that, we were able to talk about, we'd had some random acts of purpose, thinking about things like diversity and thinking about sustainability. But going through the B Corp application process, it really sort of brought that to life in the business. And so we did a massive demonstrable body of work to actually pour through the business, where we looked at our operations, everything from how we communicate with our clients. Do we do face-to-face meetings? How often we're in the office? What systems we use? Electric suppliers. And then we think about the actual work that we do. And so we're coming up with a methodology whereby when we run ads or optimize websites for clients, we're able to demonstrate the carbon impact of that work in terms of reduction. And then we spoke about our aspirations as a business in terms of, we have planted, I think, over 250,000 trees globally so far. And that aspiration to plant trees is now sort of manifesting in terms of, and it's partly inspired by the amazing team at Ground Control, who are also in Essex, who have bought land and rewilded it. And so what we're trying to do is to find some land local to us up in North Essex that we can buy and sort of hold in perpetuity for the local community and rewild. And so we've got some big aspirations. So we spoke through that sort of narrative structure in terms of the business. On the next slide, we then, in terms of those objectives, we're a profit-making business. We've been fortunate in the last 5 years to be growing between 20 and 30% per year. And so we want to grow, and we want to be as profitable as we can. And that profit we don't want to have at the expense of people or planet. And so going through that process, we were able to demonstrate that we have reduced our carbon emissions, that we have reduced the amount of waste that the business produces. Unfortunately, you have decisions like if you drive an electric car, you drive a petrol car, or you get the train. Each one of those 3 methods will have a negative impact on the environment. And so there is we have no scope 1 or 2 emissions in the business, and our scope 3 emissions are reducing, and we're working with our supply chain to lean into that, even though we don't particularly have to, but it's just something that we want to do as a business. And so with those scope 3 emissions, which come from our supply chain, we are offsetting more than we produce. And so we're trying to be really conscious in that regard. I think as a small business or a small team of 20 people or so up in Essex, and our impact is actually going to be very, very small. We're not a manufacturer. We don't produce a lot of waste. The biggest impact that we have as an ad agency is our clients. We want them to grow. And so we want to have positive impact through growing the right sort of organisations. So the sort of interrogation that the King's Award do of entrance, we have a very similar process with our clients. So we turn down businesses that aren't a good ethical fit for us. And we are wanting to work with clients that are actually trying to lean into some of the problems there are in society. We've got a whole portfolio of clients that do that. And so on the next slide, like I said, we want to be profitable. We want to be and I think profit is a good thing. I don't think it's a dirty word, but we don't want to do so at the expense of people or planet. And so we measure success in a number of ways. So financially, in terms of the growth of the business, there's no point being really environmentally friendly and going out of business. So we have to sort of keep that sort of momentum, keep on growing. But we have ambitions in the business with regards to the volume of trees that we plant, potentially the land that we acquire. We've got diversity ambitions in the business, and we measure things like waste that goes to landfill, plastic, glass, tin, the electric usage that we have on the systems. We have the carbon footprint measurement that we do, and unfortunately, as we grow, those do grow. But when we look at it from a per person per year perspective, we've got lots of charts that show that we are becoming more and more efficient through time. And so we're trying to benchmark ourselves in those ways. And so we brought this to life within the application procedure. I think the SDGs were mentioned, and we have 4 key social development goals that we really try and get behind. And so one of them is decent work and economic growth. And so we're definitely doing that. One is climate action, and so we're definitely taking the action that we can and trying to inspire our staff, our clients, and our industry to actually do better. But the 2 things that we've sort of flexed to as well are gender equality and then also reduced inequalities as well. And so these are the 4 SDGs that we would have spoken about within our application. And when we started thinking of business this way, it was probably in 2019, and we were a team of 7 or 8 white men in Essex, and I hadn't thought about business in this way before. And we made a significant amount of changes to how we recruit, where we recruit, the language we use, and we have diversity ambitions within the business. So what we want to offer our clients is a team that's representative of the world our clients are operating in. And so you can see here, we've achieved, with regards to gender equality, 50-50. We have no gender pay gap at any level of the business. We have 50-50 men, women in the senior leadership team as well. And what we're not doing it for, so we've got some nice graphs to show people. We're doing it so that as a team, we're offering our clients a team that is representative of the world they're operating in. I think all of this, the stuff that we've done is we try and be transparent, and so we are far from perfect. We've got a lot of progress that we can make. We've got a lot of things that we can do better, and so each year we produce an impact report. I think we've got 22 and 23 on our website, which you can see, and then 24 is in production at the moment. So we're wrapping up some calculations with our carbon footprint at the moment, and so this provides us with an opportunity of being really candid about the great stuff that we have done, the work that's in progress, stuff that we've tried and hasn't yet really worked. And it's just a really sort of transparent way that we can communicate with our stakeholders, whether that's our staff, our local community, our industry, our clients, whatever. It's just to then be able to take a step back and genuinely look at where we are as a business. And so I think so I was told by the Lord Lieutenant when we met that one of the big things in our applications that helped us stand out was a report that we've run 2 sweeps of, and we're working on a 3rd one at the moment. And it's a white paper we produce and have professionally written called Building Brands with Purpose. And it's our attempt to take a view from the marketing industry, whether that's clients in-house or people that run agencies, on how they're feeling about different aspects of the SDGs, whether that's sustainability, whether that's diversity, and is advocating that our industry takes increased steps forward. And so I think that when considered in our application stood very well for us, because what we're trying to do is to, we're a funny little team of 20 people up in North Essex, with all due respect to us. We have impact with our clients, but our industry, there's 27,000 marketing agencies in the UK. If we can influence some of those to start thinking along these lines and do better, then I think that's that stood very, very well in our application, that sort of advocacy piece that we did. And so when it comes to, I think we were awarded this time last year, and so it's quite early on in terms of what the impact has been for our business. But we have noticed that large business and government have suddenly, we've almost got on their radar, and they've started taking an interest in us. And so there's some inferred credibility to us, I feel, from that. I think as a result of the award, we've directly been introduced to a couple of growth networking things in London, and we're currently in conversation with the Department for Trade and Industry about perhaps joining some trade missions internationally as well. So we have these growth targets in the business based on revenue and profit, and my feeling is that there will be an overall halo effect that's added to those growth targets based on us being King's Award winners.
Great, thanks. All done, Alex?
All done.
Thanks very much, appreciated, and thanks for those insights. Steve Johnson and Ipeco were also 2024 winners, and this time in the promoting opportunity category. So, Steve, could I hand over to you, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. A little bit about our experience in 24 with the King's Award. The thing that actually prompted my company, Ipeco, to apply was a conversation I had with the Chamber of Commerce, and they asked whether we were interested in making an application, and over the years, I had always had a cursory interest, because back in 1988, our company won what was then a Queen's Award for export. And my dad, who preceded me as the CEO of Ipeco, says that was the proudest moment in his time as the leader of our company. What we do, we design and manufacture aircraft seating, specifically pilot seating and executive passenger seats for business jets, and aircraft galley inserts, things like beverage makers, microwaves, other ovens, water heaters, and so forth. There's about just under 1,000 of us. Most of us work out of Southend, but we do have facilities across the globe. So having had my interest peaked, my response to the chairperson of the Chamber of Commerce was, well, yeah, I'm kind of interested, but I don't know anything about it. And she very suddenly sent Keith my way, and Keith ran through the various categories, as you've already heard this afternoon. My immediate reaction to what Keith was presenting was, well, I don't actually think Ipeco qualifies for any of these things. When I looked at the innovation category, the time frames were a problem. We're an aerospace company. Development cycles are very, very long. It takes a very long time to get back our investment, and we would have struggled to meet that, the criteria that was set, even though we're investing, I don't know, £4 or £5 million each year on new product development. The international trade one I immediately dismissed on the basis that at the time, within the 3-year window, it would would still have taken COVID into account, and we'd seen a 40% reduction in our business at that time. So that one was off the list. And of course, when it came to sustainable development, well, we're an aerospace company. No one gives out green awards to aerospace companies, so I didn't waste any time thinking about that one. The one, as you're now aware, that we did pursue is promoting opportunity. And again, initially, I didn't think there was any mileage in that. But Keith said, well, hang on. Perhaps it might help you if I got some information for you on the definition that the King's Award people use when it comes to disadvantage, because in essence, the promoting opportunity category is all about providing opportunities to people that come from disadvantaged backgrounds. And I'd never thought hard about disadvantage in the background of employees of Ipeco, and just picked up on something Alex just said, that when he did his application, he stated that they hadn't thought about their business in that way before. And I think that's an extremely valid observation. And in our case, I hadn't seen disadvantage in our business in the way that I've ended up seeing it as a result of the application. And the list of disadvantage, which I don't think has changed. Well, my immediate thought was, well, disadvantage, that's about, do you provide opportunities for kids that had free school meals when they were at school? But it's actually quite a long list. And yes, it does include ethnic minorities and asylum seekers and long-term unemployed. But pertinent to us on the list of disadvantage, it includes people on low incomes and also young people over 16 years old who are not in education, employment or training or are at risk of that. And it dawned on me that we call it an apprenticeship program. It's not an official government apprenticeship program. It's a trainee program. Our trainee program, which at the time was providing training to something like 80 young people, pretty much everybody on that program fit those definitions in some way or another. And it just hadn't occurred to me that there was that level of disadvantage in the business. And within that 80, of course, we've got people in there with disabilities. One of the criteria in determining disadvantage is people who attended schools with lower than average attainment levels, as measured at GCSE or something along those lines. And we're in an area where we've got grammar schools, so the most academic go to the grammar schools, and the remaining secondary schools don't have the benefit of the most able to pull their GCSE results up. So we do have schools around here that don't achieve that national average. And turns out, once I went through the application and started saying, where do our trainees actually come from? Turns out that most of them actually come from those schools. So a little light bulb went on, and I said, hang on a second here. We do have something that promotes opportunity, and specifically opportunity for young people to go into employment, to earn a wage, which they do from day one, to develop skills, learn crafts, and establish their position in the world of work. And what we provide not only gives them those skills, but also we're with them as they mature from school leavers into young adulthood, and in many cases beyond. And in fact, one of the things that the questions in the application forced me to do is to go back and look at how many people have passed through that scheme or its predecessors. And it turned out, and I didn't know this before the application, that we've got we at the time had 172 ex-apprentices and trainees on our books. And then I started looking at what positions they held in the organisation, and whoa, loads of them were in management positions and all the rest of it. So there was my story. And I think when it comes to your applications, it really is what Alex has just said about telling your story. And, you know, if you're passionate enough about your story, you won't have any problem at all filling in the application form. If you're struggling and you don't have that passion, you might want to think twice before actually applying, because, you know, the threshold for success is quite high. For me, the application process was straightforward. The bits I struggled with were just pulling together some of the data, because we're not necessarily, you know, our focus is on delivering seats to Boeing. You know, it's not in trying to work out how many of our trainees come from disadvantaged backgrounds. And there are some fairly strong guidelines about confidentiality about the whole of the King's Award process. So somehow or other, I had to get my head around going and finding the answers to these questions without actually giving too much away as to what was going on. And what we did in terms of trying to understand the background of our young employees, our trainees, who we don't have a lot of data on, we asked some of them to fill out a questionnaire, and so we were able to do some of the statistical, provide some of the data that the application form requires. If you get stuck on the form in any way, and particularly with that section on the data, please contact me. I'm more than happy to help you out with that. So we did a survey there. There are other things that we needed to do to provide evidence of our success, and of course we pointed to you know, the long service for employees that have been through the scheme, and how many were in senior management positions, and so on, and related that to where they'd come from. We also did we submitted 5 case studies. I sat down with 5 young people. I think 2 had just finished the scheme, 3 were still on it, and talked about their background and what they'd actually learned and achieved from being part of our trainee program. And that, for me, was the most enlightening part of the whole application process, and probably the best part of applying, is actually listening to these young people explain, you know, the problems they had whilst they were still in school, how they didn't know where they were going in their life, some of the financial issues that they have at home. I mean, it's not great to hear, but it's very rewarding then to learn that you're making a difference to them. Now, I had no feedback on our application. I don't know whether anybody ever gets any feedback on the application. I don't know which bits of our application were really good. I don't know which bits weren't so good. All I know is we ended up with an award, which I'm very proud of actually achieving. But for me, the most powerful bit about our application were the stories of those 5 young people. And, you know, the sense of pride that I had and was later able to share, because of confidentiality, I wasn't able to share it at the time, but then able to share it, respecting the individual's privacy, with the rest of my organisation, was immense. And for me, the whole process of applying, yeah, a little bit of time, but it's not too challenging. But for me, was really a validation of what we do, and really open our eyes. And ultimately, when we received an award, that recognition across the employees of Ipeco was tremendous, and I was very proud for them, and they were very proud for the company, that, you know, the investment that we'd made in training young people was recognised in this way. And I think, I don't know whether it's still the case, at the time we did it, this category had the smallest number of winners. I think there was only 8 or 10 or something like that. And when I looked at some of the other winners, they were people who had very definitely set out to help people with disadvantage, and great. But what made me even more proud of my company was that wasn't our goal. We didn't set out to help people from disadvantaged backgrounds. We found we needed employees, we needed to train employees. The local training provision wasn't good enough. We invested in that, and we found that we were helping people who didn't know what to do at the age of 16, and in some difficult family circumstances in some cases. So the real benefit for us was internal. It was recognition. Externally, and I guess everybody's experience will probably be different. Externally for us, not so great. Our customers, they congratulated us, and it's important. They put it on their files that this is the kind of company that we want to do business with. Did it contribute to any growth in our sales? I can't say it did. It may do, but I wouldn't be able to recognise it if it did. I have to say local media coverage was appalling. We actually had to harass the Evening Echo to even print the story, and we'd given them the story, and your press releases do get approved by the King's Award. So the outside world reception, not so great, but it wasn't about that for us. It was really about the recognition of the people in Ipeco who invested so much, and it includes emotional investment in the success of young people, and had achieved so much, and also for those young people as well, many left school in some difficult circumstances, and now moved into successful employment. So that's my story, and I'm happy to join in the Q&A at the end.
Great. Thanks ever so much, Steve. Incidentally, I mean, you've heard from Steve there, his business 1,000 people strong, and also from Alex 20 people strong. So you can see the awards are genuinely for all, as Chloe indicated earlier. So the next speaker is Robert McGregor from Contamac. Robert is going to talk to us a little about his experience, particularly relating to the international category. But Contamac are in fact 2-time winners, having won for innovation as well. So if I could hand over to Robert, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I think firstly, thank you for inviting me to come on and speak and just share our experience with you. So I think I've been asked to focus on the international trade. So why did we decide to go for that? Well, really, we had quite a strong link with the UK trade and industry. I think DTI is probably now the right terminology for that. And working really closely with them, and they had helped us develop strategies across the world to grow the business and move it forward. And actually, it was them that introduced the idea of applying for this award. So that was great. So I think in terms of the starting process, it's really important. I think, and Chloe's already kind of mentioned this, to look at what is required for the award going forward, and perhaps some of the easy part is just the basic criteria. Providing you can tick that criteria to begin with, you've got at least half a chance. But I think taking the time to look at the form and trying to understand what information is required is really important, and I'll come on to the reasons why a little bit later. But I also think for any organisation, we at the time we employed about 50 people within the business, but it was really important at that stage to make sure that you select I wanted to select a project manager to really lead this, because the level of information that was required, quite frankly, can't just come from one person. It needs to be collated throughout the organisation. So, for example, they'll be looking for a lot of information on human resources, on finance, on sales and marketing, on operations, on quality assurance. There are many aspects within the organisation that need to contribute to help build a successful application to go through, and I'm sure that will be the case regardless of the award that you're going to apply for. I think the other thing that is important is being respectful of the timelines involved as well. Again, speaking from experience, no, it's not an enormous task for a company to undertake, but there is a lot of work to go into. And I think especially if you want to do it properly, you should afford the right level of time to go into that. So the advice that has already been given, I would completely agree with. The sooner you're able to download that information, start working on it and maximise that time, because once you're past that deadline, you're past that deadline. So you won't be in for the following year's recognition. So to get the international trade, as has already been explained, you needed to show either 3 years of what they suggested would be a significant growth. Can't remember the exact terminology, or 6 years of growth. That is not defined in this category, so it was really hard to really sit there and say, well, which way should we move forward on this? So I made the decision that we definitely ought to go for the 6 year continuous growth data, and that was I think that was the right decision. And actually, I felt that for the company, it even gave greater credibility in terms of sustainability and being able to show that you are a real company and you do have longevity behind you. I thought actually it added to our application process rather than maybe being extremely fortunate and having a couple of fantastic years. What you should be aware, though, is one of the things they ask for in this process is I can put all the numbers down I like, but they want to see audited numbers from your accounts. So creative accounting is not going to be accepted in this particular category. The other thing they look for is for you to explain your trading strategies. So, for example, how have you gone about building that international business? What did you use? How did you drive the growth? And that will change and vary considerably depending on the part of the world that you're trading with. So for Contamac, for example, we actually trade with 64 different countries. Now, as a result of that, we do have different strategies in different countries. So some we work directly with, others we have agents, others we have distributors. In one or two parts of the world, we have almost solely owned, 100% owned subsidiaries of the business, because that's what it requires to represent that particular part of the world. We also talked about our professional training that we offer in conjunction with our services. So just to be clear, what we do as a business is we are a biocompatible polymer manufacturer that polymers are typically used for finished medical devices, and in our case, they either end up as a contact lens or an intraocular lens. So there's a lot of clinical training that needs to go along with that. You wouldn't normally associate that with a kind of a materials manufacturer as we are, but we incorporated that into our business strategy long before we went for the Queen's Award, which of course has served us very well over the years. Research and development is also a critical aspect that we needed to touch on. Our product mix as well, I think, was a big part of our not just the application but the success. So it's really important to talk about that, and the geographical spread. And when we reported the geographical spread, we wanted and we were asked to be in a position where you could really break down maybe the top 5 or 6 areas, I think from memory, that gave you the greatest growth. But of course, that's where you get your greatest story from it as well. I would also reiterate that we did not grow in all 64 countries. We had countries that were growing very well and countries that weren't. What they're interested in the award is your overall international trading position, and that's really important to take into account. So I think whilst that's quite exciting from a business point of view, what really I guess surprised me a little bit, but also probably motivated me more about this, was the award wasn't just looking at how you were trading; it was looking at really the corporate responsibility of the company, and that really was one of my primary drivers and why I wanted to take this award forward. So, for example, they wanted to really interrogate some of the relationships that we have in the industry, and what I mean by relationships is not just customers, but that's suppliers and that's industry partners out there as well. So, what do we do? How do we work with these people? What's made the difference to the company? So it was really nice to talk about the ways that we go about maybe visiting, our trade show experience, our personal meetings to go there, hosting within the company itself, training days, industry partnering, charitable activities that we have in place throughout the world going forward. And then one of the big, I think, things to demonstrate why we have the sustainable growth in terms of our numbers is when you actually measure repeat business that comes through, because I think that's a measurement not just of your performance, but also a measurement of your personal relationships with the customers and the suppliers that are out there. So of course we measure all those things. The other side of it is your employee relations. Now again, that was essential to me because although we're going to move forward, the way we operated was bringing a project manager in, not one of our members of staff. We didn't hire someone for this. We used people on within the team, but we made it a company experience. And that's really, really important because then the whole company knows what you're doing. They're bought into the process. And that's really important if you assume success, which I believe you should do if you go into these things, because then the whole company gets the opportunity to share that and join in with the reward and get the accolades for the work that they put into that. So we were able to look at the training programs we have in place for our staff, the professional development that we put in place, the onboarding system that we have in place, and the care and attention we take into our people coming on, all the different retention rates and KPIs you put in place as you would do for HR, and again, our length of services and equally the facilities that we put in place for our staff as well, because it's not just about asking them to do the job. We want them to be enjoy their time while they're working for the company as well. And even within this award, there was an environmental aspect to this as well. So now, bear in mind, this was back in 2012. So there was still an environmental discussion at that stage. And yes, so it was still very good to be able to look at that part of the application and explain to the people who are reviewing the reward the kind of activities that we put in place, and the fact that, again, it comes back to that corporate responsibility. The fact that whilst we may not be going for that award, it was indeed important to us, and it is indeed important to us that we're taking those things very seriously as a company as well. So whilst it is an international trade award, I guess my message was I just felt it was a lot wider than that in terms of your application process. And I felt, and that really, when we came out the other side to, use the benefits of that, and I'll come on to this in a minute, was a great way to explain the benefits of the award. Because it's not just about your audited accounts. Anyone can get hold of my last 6 audited accounts. That's really straightforward. There's far more substance to it, and that really was quite intriguing to me. So I think, since we were successful in getting the award, first and foremost, I think it was fabulous for the company, for our staff, and it was absolutely fantastic for everyone to celebrate that and be part of that process. We had our own sort of separate presentation day and a day where the Lord Lieutenant came along, did a presentation, and it was just it was a great experience for a company gathering, to be perfectly honest with you, and a great way to recognise not just the people that were involved, but the whole company, because the whole company have been involved with this award. Industry recognition, yeah. I again can only echo what has been said. There is absolutely no doubt. Interestingly, outside of the UK, we had so much more positivity in terms of messaging, personal responses. It definitely carried a great value to companies around the world, in particularly in the USA. I would suggest that was probably the real highlight. but it really demonstrated, I think, and allowed us to put a badge behind maybe our ethics and ethos behind the company in terms of how we operate. Other spin-offs from it, we got recognised as one of the top 1,000 small to medium-sized enterprise to inspire Great Britain. That was a nice spin-off. We didn't realise that was going to happen, but it was really nice to get there. I got invited to come and open the London Stock Exchange. It's good fun. It's something good to do. We ended up in the Parliamentary Review. We got a lovely article in there and a focus on the business in that particular journal. I think our company brand and marketing was elevated for 2012 to a completely different level, and it really allowed us to set the marketing plan and be clear on what we wanted to achieve for that calendar year. I think overall, though, my biggest personal memory was getting the opportunity to visit the Buckingham Palace and at the time meet the Queen and Prince Philip. Whilst it may have only been a fleeting visit and we just got sort of one cheeky question, to be perfectly honest with you, it was well worth it and I wouldn't change it for the world. So I think in summary, look, my experience has been nothing but positive. I would certainly recommend it to companies to go through it, but don't underestimate the process. It's not too onerous, but it's certainly, you have to focus and make sure you're putting the right resources behind it to deliver it. So thank you for your time.
Super. Thanks very much, Robert. Appreciate that. Thank you. So moving on to the final category, which is innovation. We're joined today by Marcus Watson. Today he's an NED at non-exec at Ground Control, but when they won the award for innovation in 2021, I believe he was the CEO. So Marcus, could I please hand over to you?
Yes, of course, and thank you very much for the invitation. Really appreciate it. And just to blow the trumpet of Ground Control, we also got one in 2016. After a few dry runs before 2016, that was our first, and then later on for the double whammy. So delighted to be here and share a little bit about our experiences, which there'll be many similarities to the others that you've heard from today. But perhaps I'll start with a little bit about Ground Control. So I'm involved with Ground Control on a very light touch basis now, but at the time I was in the thick of it. Ground Control's a UK based company whose purpose is to care for our environment, and so the kind of things that it does on the ground is look after the landscaping, the winter maintenance, installing electric vehicle charging devices, looking after our infrastructure in the UK. But it's a very purpose-driven organization, and part of its way of doing things is around putting people at the center of everything we do, but enabling what we do with technology and innovation. And therein lies the clue for why I'm talking to you today. So in terms of size and scope, we're several thousand employees across the UK, 200 million or so turnover now. Thanks to the continued fantastic work of my colleagues and ex-colleagues. Where I am now is in a company called Pest Control Partnership that aims to be as purposeful as Ground Control, but in the world of pest control. Now, really interesting. As we were engaged in delivering an outstanding customer service to our customers, as we were looking to improving the employee experience for all of our colleagues, then of course we did focus on making sure that we applied for and got the awards in our market sector, and we got pretty good at it. So in our markets of landscaping and facilities management and maintenance, we were doing rather well, and so we thought we need to raise the bar, and this is how we came across the then Queen's Award, and we thought, what are the kind of things that would really help us raise the bar in the kind of awards that we could measure ourselves against and hopefully do well against. And that's why we focused on that. And there was a story behind that. Back when I was at university doing my first degree, actually, I remember walking into the lobby of the School of Chemistry department in the University of Hull in 1990, and I saw in a cutout in the wall there was this beautiful crystal cup, lots of light shining on it, and and they won the equivalent an equivalent award from the Queen back in, I think it was 1979, and I thought that is impressive. How do we get one of those? And then fast forward a few decades, and it did actually transpire. So one of the questions I was asked is, well, what are the business benefits of the award? And I think that there are many benefits, and to put a direct link between winning the award and increased profitability is just not very easy to do. And in fact, it is quite the reverse. It's because we are a successful business, because you are a successful business, that actually the award will come thereafter. So the business benefits are many. And I'll start with the first one, which is on the employees. And this is for employees that are existing employees, but also new employees. And what the award does is to give yet another strong signal that their decision to either join the company or stay with the company and encourage others to join your company is a good decision. It really does help to solidify that, and gives colleagues an external benchmark by which they can measure the wisdom of their decision. And in a similar way, it's very similar to customers. They make a decision, and they very much would like to know that their decision is wise, not just because it's a good price or a good product, but actually because of the quality of the service and because of the trusted partner that they've chosen, etc. It's nice for them to be given that feedback that their decision is wise. So it comes with a halo effect. It comes with an ease of being able to immediately demonstrate a level of competence, quality, certification, and all of those things that are intangible. And the conversations are therefore immediately more open and more engaging. And in terms of the business itself, it's definitely a sign of great quality. It is definitely a sign that the business is doing the right things because of the scrutiny and the levels of questioning and testing and scrutiny that the process involves. It does mean that your businesses have proven themselves in yet another way to be a high quality organization. And then there's personal. For me as an individual working and at the time leading ground control, it was an incredibly proud moment to see that the efforts of all of our teams and all of our colleagues, because it does take an awful lot of time to get a sufficient amount of capability in different areas to bring all of this together as a team, and to say, guys, you know, we've done it. We've done a great thing here, and it's an enormous personal pride to see that the team achieves to that kind of level, not once but twice. So what has my experience been of what it takes to submit a winning application? And I'm going to repeat some of the themes that you've heard today, and I hope that reinforces in fact some of the things that are certainly worth considering. The first one is to be really clear on the type of award you wish to apply for. We don't sell abroad, so international trade wasn't one that we were going to apply for. And as you've heard in my voiceover earlier, we were really focused on people and innovation and technology, with innovation and technology enabling people to be the very best that they can be, to deliver that fantastic customer service, which translates into repeat business and customer satisfaction and good profitability, good growth. So making sure there's that really, really strong link between the award that you're applying for and what you're good at, and that there's sufficient overlap. If there are gaps, I would certainly recommend not to be shy to apply, knowing that you might not get in first time, because in our experience, the feedback has been from those conducting the audit, the scrutiny, has been really good. So when we've asked for feedback, we've got great feedback, which we're able to say, you know what, that's something that we can use in our business to improve it. And importantly, it's something that we could put into our subsequent applications to say, well, you said this last time, we fixed it, therefore our application is even stronger this time round. So another tip would be, don't afraid to try several times, get that great feedback, and try again. I believe in total for those 2 awards, we probably applied 5 times. I would also encourage the leaders of the business not to outsource the sweat, the hard work to others. And whilst of course many people in the organization will be involved in collating the data, etc., I think the golden thread that permeates many of the questions, that golden thread needs to be clear, needs to come to life. And it needs to be very visible and clear to the reader, but in a way that answers the question very, very carefully. Not answering the question exactly as it is intended will not get you any points. Overall, in summary, it's been nothing but a positive experience. Even when we didn't get the award and we felt, oh, no, that's a real shame, we got invaluable feedback from people we didn't have to pay to receive great feedback as to how we can improve our business and how we can improve our submission the next time around. It's fantastic for employees. It really does add to that employee proposition and helps them realize the wisdom of their decision. Same for customers. And then in terms of the business intangibles, they are far and many. So I can't recommend this enough. I hope that was helpful. Keith, over to you.
Much appreciated, Marcus, and thank you. My apologies, I forgot the 2016 award, so sorry about that.
It's okay. I'll need to get one in 2026.
Yes, please. Thank you. So I'm now opening the floor for questions and answers. I'll try to get to everybody in the order they might raise their hands. If you prefer to use the chat, please do so. And ideally, if you want to get an answer from any of the speakers today specifically, if you could mention them, that would be helpful. So anybody like to go first? I think we've got a very quiet team today. Okay, well, I'm going to assume there aren't any questions. Robbie's put his email address on the chat. I'm going to put mine on as well, just in case anybody thinks of anything later, just so you can get back to either Robbie or myself, and one way or another we'll get an answer to any questions you might have. Posted. And I'd now like to hand over to Tom Stacey from Anglia Ruskin University. I just want to give you a little bit of context before I ask Tom to speak. So across the country, the majority of the winners are SMEs, and they're often actually micro businesses. And given what you've heard about the process of applying for these awards, it can prove to be quite a challenge from a resource perspective. As a consequence of that, I reached out to my former colleagues at ARU to see if they had any suggestions. And Tom Stacey will outline their response and invite again any questions that you might have. Tom, over to you.
Thank you, Keith, and thanks for showing me the slides. So just a very quick intro, and this will be a very quick piece from myself on behalf of ARU. My name is Tom Stacey. I'm a senior lecturer and previous deputy head of school at Anglia Ruskin University in the Faculty of Business and Law. So I'm based across mainly our campuses in Cambridge and Chelmsford. And there we go. There's a picture of our beautiful campuses, and some of them are extremely beautiful. And depending on where you're from, some of you may be familiar with the campuses either in Cambridge, if you're in this area, right there on East Road, down in Writtle, which is our newest campus, which was the old Writtle Agricultural College, which is truly a beautiful building and beautiful surroundings. Our campus on Chelmsford, which is our largest campus, and also Peterborough, which is one of our newer campuses. So yeah, I'm here to talk about really what we do here at ARU. So say I'm from the Faculty of Business and Law, and ARU has a long history in entrepreneurship and being Entrepreneurial University of the Year, and doing an awful lot of work in that area, along with units like our Anglia Ruskin Enterprise Academy that some of you may be familiar with, which does a lot of work in nurturing businesses. And one of our growth areas is, two of our big growth areas right now are spin-outs from the university. And I think I've been brought here today to talk about one of the spin-outs that I'm actually one of the co-founders of, which is Brew AI, which is an app, an AI-based algorithm that enables the brewing industry, which is an SME industry that's a high net energy user, to look at time shifting their production in order to reduce carbon, because they produce a lot of carbon for the size of the business they are. So I've been working on that, and which has been a really interesting journey for myself to try and launch that spin-out business and get lots of funding and all sorts of things for that. And also, I think one of the things that might be useful to businesses and partners here today is something that we've launched recently called Professional Experience. So for a long time, our students have been able to do placements. Certainly if you're studying something to do with medicine, nursing, social work, anything like that, social care, doing a placement is very much an expected part of what the students will do. So they'll go and work in industry to really learn kind of, themselves, on the ropes, as you would say, how that industry works. So placements have been a thing for a long time for us, but what we've recently launched is something called Professional Experience. So this is open to all business students, and mainly for master students. So students who are coming here, and the master's journey for a student is actually quite a short one. It's normally only a year or just over a year, depending on where they start. So they're not here for us, not here with us for long, and they're expected to sort of learn everything about the topic that they come study, to learn mastery of it. And one thing that we found really is so valuable to these students who are here learning the theory, they're here surrounded by academics, surrounded by their peers, with access to the latest technology and research, is that they're getting a lot of theoretical knowledge, and that theoretical knowledge is useful to industry, but they're not getting the same kind of industry experience that someone perhaps in something like a degree apprenticeship would get. So we launched the professional experience option for students, and as this slide, sorry, it's got a lot of text on it, really allows the students to do is study on campus. So here, surrounded by the labs, surrounded by the academics and their peers, but working with industry partners. So this is different from a placement where they go out to a company for 3 to 6 months, but they would actually work here with a business, and it's a really exciting thing for us. I think the key thing about this is we put the students into groups. So we get small groups of students, 3 to 5, supporting a business. So businesses come to us through our commercial arm all the time, asking for help or offering opportunities. And so what we're doing is we're bringing together small groups of students studying masters and we are allowing them to help the business to have engagement with the business. There's no cost to the business for this. And I think why this might be interesting to people here is that we can put together a team of really cracking students, and we can get them to work with you, perhaps on something like this bid writing application. So if you haven't got time, and I heard some of the speakers earlier saying, you know, you're thinking about your core business, you're thinking about the day job, you're literally getting sales out the door, or you're providing services. And these kind of opportunities like King's Awards and other funding opportunities are really great, but how have we got the time to take stock of, you know, what we're doing in the business, to understand what would be a good idea that we can take forward, to write that up, to do some research on it. And what we're really offering here is a group of students, like a little crack team, an A team, for those of you who are old enough here to remember the A team, an A team to go and work on something specifically in your business for an outcome. And that could be a bid or funding application, that could be a new idea, that could be launching a new product, whatever it is, or launching a new project, should I say. Yeah, our students are here, ready. We're looking for as many industry partners to work with us as possible. You know, the interest from our students is really, really high in this, which is why, in fact, if we did it one-to-one, there wouldn't be enough businesses. The amount of students is keen to do this. So we're putting them together in groups, and we're taking care of everything. And essentially, yeah, we're here to offer them to anybody who's interested, really. And they're really super keen, super bright students who would just love to get involved in it. So that's it. Quick run through it. I'm not Brendan. Brendan's my colleague who I've worked with for many years. So I'm just covering this for Brendan. But reach out to that email address there, or mine is just tom.stacey, which I can put in the chat. But anybody, if you have any questions about it, please put them in the chat, or feel free to put your mic on and ask me now. Yeah, and as Keith said, you can reach out to Brendan, who's leading that up in our department.
Great. Thanks very much, Tom.
No problem.
If there are any questions, feel free to flag them now. Okay, I don't think there are. Anyway, you've got the contact details. Feel free to directly follow up with ARU. And I think that's the new initiative for this year. So ARU working with organisations looking to apply for these King's Awards. It will be a new experience for them. So if you go for it, expect a few teething problems, but I'm sure it will be a valuable asset given the quality of the resource that is effectively being made available to you. So I think that's a wrap. There are the opportunity for you to provide feedback. We'll appreciate it if you do. You can do that using the QR code. You can do it directly via email to Robbie. On behalf of the Essex Lieutenancy, I'd like to thank all of today's speakers, and I mean that most sincerely, for giving up their time to support this event, which is really appreciated. I'd also like to thank the many organisations across Essex who actively help in promoting these awards, particularly Essex County Council and indeed the Chambers of Commerce, but there are many others too, and it's appreciated. Finally, I would like to wish all of you every success in the future, whatever your endeavours are and wherever they might take you. And many thanks for your participation today.